Hi, my name is Ellie Deminico, and I'm a National Sports Media Association intern from Wake Forest University. And today I'm joined by DC's Sportswriter of the Year, Nicki Jhabvala. Nicki, thank you so much for joining with me today.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
So, just to start off, could you begin by sharing how your journey in journalism led to you becoming a national beat reporter?
Yeah, it's been winding, but yeah, I went to North Carolina, the University of North Carolina, and I originally wanted to study medicine. That didn't last long, um, and ended up taking a course in sports journalism. My professor, Tim Crothers, former Sports Illustrated writer, I just fell in love with it and kept going with it. Majored in journalism. Um, did a couple internships after my junior and senior year at SI Kids and stuck with it. So I actually started out on the editing side, which I think really helped me. Gives me a different perspective. I know, or at least have a better idea of what my editors are looking for or what works online, what works better in print. Some of the things that worked better for building an audience. So I did that for 7 years, maybe longer. No, 7 years of editing and producing. I did it at SI.com. And then I briefly went to Sports on Earth. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but Sports on Earth, it was a short-lived, but and then I went to the New York Times and I was doing a mix of sports and hard news, working the overnight shift, which was fun. Um, and then I decided to move out to Denver to be closer to my family. My parents had moved out there and really loved it and ended up, getting thrown onto the Broncos beat, which was great. And then just stuck with it from there. And that's how I became a beat writer. I covered the Broncos for 6 years, both for the Denver Post and the Athletic. And then I moved to DC to become the Commanders. Whoops, sorry, that's my mom calling. Um, to become the Commanders beat reporter for the Washington Post. And I've been covering the team for 6 years now. Now back with the Athletics. So yeah, it's been nothing like I planned going into school, but you know, I love it. It's been great.
That's awesome. And so, kind of leading off of that, what drew you to specifically cover football? And how did your time covering the Broncos influence the way that you approach reporting for the Commanders now?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. I mean, because there are some similarities between the two teams. Both have had sort of ownership issues, I guess. Both were sold. Lots of quarterback struggles, some successes, a lot of losses. So I mean, covering the Broncos gave me a really good like introductory to what I would face with Washington because they were dealing with more than probably most teams. I think in 2021 there were so many crazy things happening that, the DEA rating the facility ranked as like the 25th craziest thing. So it was that kind of year. So it helped me quite a bit. So I really enjoyed it and I love the work that I do. I mean, because it goes beyond sports, right? There's health news, there's business news, there's shoot in Washington, there's plenty of political news. You're dealing with folks from Congress, you're dealing with all kinds of people, and I love it. It's been great.
That's amazing. And so, with the fact that NFL reporting often involves a lot of rapid developments, whether that be injuries or trades or like contract disputes, what is your process for balancing like immediate news with like the deeper sort of context, the behind the scenes?
Yeah, it is a fine balance, and I feel like we're always sort of tweaking it year by year because, you know, journalism changes, the way people, take in media changes. I never would have thought I'd be doing, 2-minute short videos for TikTok as a beat reporter, but that's how so many people get their news. So you got to meet people to where they want their news. So yeah, I think over the years, I think many outlets have moved more away from like the minutia of beat reporting and the transactional stuff, though I still think it's very important. I think my view is if you're going to cover a beat, or if I'm going to cover a beat, I'm going to cover everything. Like you own the beat, right? Like you own the moment, you own the news, you own the beat. So it's your job to document it all. And, whether your editor takes all of it or not is a different question. But I try to be on top of everything. And if they don't want a story, then, it becomes more of, social media news where you put it on Twitter and your other social media platforms. But it definitely has changed. But I'm always the news first people. I know so many people that want to move more into like features or enterprise, and I love the news. I love chasing it. I love reporting. And I think that's still a major piece of what beat reporting is you're there to document and learn as much as you can about the subject you cover. But I love the feature writing. I love getting to know people and finding the cool stories. And at times you gotta write the hard stories too. So I love the mix of it. There's really no other. That's why I love sports writing, because there's really nothing like it. The news doesn't always offer the good moments, the cool stories, the kind of off the wall things. There's just so much creativity allowed with sports. So
Absolutely. And to that point of being like more all-encompassing in your writing, could you just walk through a story that maybe you recently published where you dig beyond the statistics, like, and show more of the human side of the players or staff?
yeah. I did a bigger one last year, no, the year before that, at the Washington Post, on the Commanders, their chefs, and because they prepare meals 3 times a day and snacks. I mean, they're big guys, obviously, they eat quite a bit, but I mean, they are fed well in Ashburn. And it picked my interest because we were able to try some of the food that they eat on a normal basis, and you're blown away. I mean, this is like, 4-star restaurant type cuisine, and you just start to get to know the people that are making the food behind the scenes. What are their days like? And they start at 3 a.m. and they end at, it's pretty insane. You think about the jobs they do, and you just never see these people. They're just sort of behind the scenes. And I always love trying to find the behind the scenes story, whether it's about folks like that or anything about how the product of what you see on the field is made. So I really love that. I got to spend a couple days with them, just learning about how they make a full course, how they go through a day of preparing meals. It starts pre-dawn and, with the trucks rolling up with food. And it's just, to me, it was fascinating just to learn a whole nother facet about the franchise.
Absolutely. And so now, kind of moving towards a different topic of this online world and how everything has become very digital, and how now today social media and interactions are often intertwined with sports reporting, sports journalism. How does audience feedback shape the way that you produce your pieces, if
Mhm.
at all? And then how do you kind of manage that
Mhm.
in your sort of reporting rhythm?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. Like I mean, we obviously do a lot of like the mailbag style pieces or doing, AMAs on Reddit or is similar things on, Twitter or other platforms, which I do enjoy. And I think sometimes it's good to take a step back and hear from fans on what they're thinking. What do they have questions about? Because I become so immersed in what I'm covering and the finer details of what the team is doing, and that sometimes it's good to take a step back and like, what are some of the basic questions that they're asking and we haven't answered yet? And a lot of times that can lead to like the best stories. Like that cooking story, for example, was just, I think my mom was like, "Oh, that's cool. I've never heard of so and so the chef. That'd be a fun story." I was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess I never really thought about that." So that led to that. So, and I've kind of, there have been so many instances like that throughout my career of like other people, fans, readers, other, writers, editors who just have seemingly basic questions that really lead to some of the best stories. So I love it. I go on Reddit all the time just to see, what are people talking about. I obviously am tethered to my phone like any reporter anymore. So I'm always looking on social media to see, what's going on out there. So it shapes my view, it shapes my reporting tremendously.
Absolutely. And so now, looking ahead to the future for students like myself hoping to break into this super tough industry, and then also for more specifically sports journalists,
Mhm.
what advice would you give to them in developing a strong voice and maybe handling tough interview situations, and then just specifically finding your niche or your beat in a very
Yeah.
crowded media space today?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It was tough then. It's even harder now. So I feel for you guys. But I guess well, there are a couple things is I mean, we all have our insecurities, but for me, the work was, I can be a bulldog with work, like no inhibitions. You have to in this industry. You have to like go after what you want. Um, I just think that's so important. You have to be confident in your work and what you do. At the same time, be humble and know what you don't know. I think asking questions is so important and big, and it reflects well on anybody coming into the industry and anybody trying to stay in the industry, right? Um, but be a bulldog. Go after the things you want, go after the job you want, and don't relent. I think the other thing is, just get as much experience as you can. When I was in school, and obviously things have changed, obviously, but I mean, it was mostly a working school experience, right? So, I mean, I lived 40 minutes from Chapel Hill. So I decided to move back home just to save money. And so I could also have like two markets really. So I freelanced for the local paper back home, but I also freelanced for, papers in Chapel Hill. I freelanced for literally anything I could get my hands on. I think I did a story for like Inside Lacrosse or something. I didn't know much about lacrosse at the time, but um, anything, the student newspaper. My one regret coming out of college was that I was not more well-rounded. And granted, a lot of my skills have been shaped on the job, like editing, producing. Like, again, that's another reason I was so happy for the path that I ended up taking, because it just made me a stronger journalist overall. But I wish I had gained more audio skills, more, broadcast skills, just to become totally well-rounded, because so many places want sort of that one-stop shop when they're hiring, somebody who can do it all, which is difficult, but the more you know, the better. And just be open to anything, it's a hard industry. You're not going to always be able to pick where you want to go, but if you keep an open mind, it can lead to some really great things.
Absolutely. Well, Nikki, thank you so much again for taking the time to speak with me today, and congrats again
Thank
on
you.
your recognition as DC's Sportswriter of the Year.
Thank you.